Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show.
Welcome back to the Jeff Crilley Show. We've been talking about children, and Friends of Wednesday's Child is in studio right now. Join us in welcoming our guests to the show. Why don't you introduce yourselves?
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having us here. I'm Jennifer Pascal, and I am currently serving as the board chair of Friends of Wednesday's Child. And today I have my partner in crime.
I'm Timmy Newsome, and I'm also on the board of directors.
Now, I should say, for those longtime Dallas Cowboy fans, you should know this man's name, Timmy Newsome. All right, describe your NFL career for those who are the youngins out there who don't remember.
I played fullback and tailback for 9 years, and I played with Tony Dorsett, Herschel Walker, Danny White, Drew Pearson, Tony Hill. So it was a lot of fun during those 9 years. And, of course, Coach Landry was the head coach during my time.
Wow, that's amazing. What great years, right? So, Timmy, how did you get involved in Friends of Wednesday's Child?
Well, I've been involved since 2009, and I was asked to serve during that period of time on a volunteer basis. Many people may be aware of that it was a golf tournament that had gone on for over 30 years. And the Dallas Cowboys were uniquely poised to assist Friends of Wednesday's Child in helping out in a golf tournament that was held during that period. So that was my involvement even during the time of playing football.
Okay, so Jennifer, how did you get involved?
I had a friend actually ask me if I'd wanted to get involved, and I learned a little bit more about it. So Friends of Wednesday's Child had about that time shifted its focus to really saying, what can we do to make a difference in the lives of these children? How can we change their futures for the better? And there are folks out there that are working on the legal front, and we decided our area of focus would be on education.
Okay.
Because we realized if you are moving, if you are pulled out of your home because of abuse or neglect or abandonment, and then you go into the foster care system and you're lucky enough to get into a good foster care home, you still get pulled out. You get pulled out to go to court dates. You get pulled out because you might go back to your family. You get pulled out because you go to another foster home, and you just keep moving. So we studied, and we said these kids are moving 8 times before they're 18.
Wow.
And by the time when they're in second grade and they're supposed to be learning how to multiply, they're still thinking about addition. So these kids are having a problem advancing in their education and getting on grade level. So we said, what can we do to change that? Because that could be the difference. Because what we did is we looked at all this research. The moving 8 times before you're 18, you can't get on grade level. You have a really hard time graduating from high school. And that means, and less than half of these children were graduating from high school, and only 3% of them were going on to college. And by the time these kids are turning 18, without anybody stepping in to help them with their education, a third of them are becoming homeless.
Wow.
So this is a problem. We have over 6,000 kids living in foster care in North Texas and 23,000 across the state, right? So we said, what can we do to make sure these 6,000 kids in North Texas aren't 12,000 kids in 15 years? How do we make sure that doesn't happen? Well, we go in and we intervene in education. We have a program that is so unique called Success in School, where we go in and we have an education specialist come up with a plan for that child so that they can get on grade level. They get the tutoring they need. They get the support they need. They have an advocate who can go to school and say, hey, this child needs a little help, or this child has a learning difference, or this child is having some problems at home. What can we do to help them with their studies? So it's a life-changing program.
Timmy, I know it's hard to boil your experience down to one child, but I know with anybody, often it's a pair of eyes that you see that say, okay, this is why I'm doing this. Can you think of a situation where your heart was touched by Friends of Wednesday's Child?
A few years ago, I was out at Lone Star Park, and I was talking to a foster parent, and there was a small child running around, very playful, as though nothing had happened to that child. And the foster parent said, you see that child over there? I said, yes. She said, that child was tossed off of a bridge by the mother. Mm-hmm. And that was extraordinarily touching to me to see that child survive that, not only do that, but to run around and play and do those sort of things. And I said, well, is there any counseling of that child? She said, yeah, he goes to counseling twice a week. And so that really caused me to say there's got to be something that can be done to help these children in cases like that. And so that was the driving force behind me becoming even more involved, because that child was absolutely defenseless, and it survived, broke its leg, and was running around as though nothing had happened.
Well, I know a lot of people remember the Wednesday's Child on TV. Are you guys related to that at all?
That's a great question. We were inspired by that program. The founders of Friends of Wednesday's Child watched Friends of Wednesday's Child and realized they could not adopt every child that was featured, but what they could do was set up a nonprofit organization that would raise funds to help children living in foster care. And so it's a great relationship.
And what are some of the events that you have? I know you have different events throughout the year where people can get involved. Why don't you talk about some of them?
I'm so glad you asked, there is a breakfast coming up on May 4th, Thursday, at the Below Mansion. You can go to the Friends of Wednesday's Child website online. If you just Google Friends of Wednesday's Child, we pop right up. And you can buy your tickets. It's a breakfast with a guest speaker named Steve Pemberton, who has written a book about his experience growing up in foster care, and he is a senior executive now with Walgreens based in Chicago.
Wow.
His book is being turned into a movie. He tells a wonderful story, and it's very inspirational. We also have an event at Topgolf coming up in November. I believe it's the second Friday in November, but it's an event where we have folks come out and you just enjoy an afternoon of Topgolf and learn a little bit more about Friends of Wednesday's Child. But we hope that folks will come up here in a couple weeks, May 4th, for Foster Care Awareness Month, and join us at the Below Mansion for breakfast and learn more about foster care, education in foster care and how it can make the difference in these children's lives.
Absolutely. Obviously, any nonprofit needs donations. Do you also need volunteers? Is there a role for a volunteer in your organization?
We need a lot of support, and there's a program that we have in the fall called Back to Class, and we need volunteers to help us get backpacks and back-to-school supplies for children living in foster care. So if you go to our website, again, if you go to the Friends of Wednesday's Child website, you can learn more about it and learn about those volunteer opportunities. But kids in foster care need backpacks, and they need uniforms, and they need notebook paper and all that good stuff. And sometimes it's hard for the foster family to meet that need. So volunteers can have a backpack organized, raising party. They can have their friends pack backpacks. They can bring these backpacks to the kids. And it sounds like something so simple, but when you don't own anything because you were abused and neglected and abandoned, and now you're out there in foster care and you don't own, you might own the outfit you have, but when you have to move to another home or you get moved back into your biological parents' home, you don't have anything. And so the fact that we have an opportunity for these kids to say, no, I don't want that backpack. I want that one. They own it, and they got to pick it out. And it's a huge esteem builder for that kid. It says, I have something, I'm worth something, somebody thought about me. So we could really use those volunteers to help us with that effort.
Wow. Jennifer, I love your passion. Timmy, let's give you the last word. Why should people get involved?
I think the thing that's most important is that children get bounced around from place to place, and they need stability more than anything else. That stability is brought forth by a lot of community organizers, a lot of stakeholders who provide that care. And the educational part of what we do for those children is that stability part that I think they've been longing for, because if they can't go to the class and be educated well, then they're going to continue to be bounced around from place to place. So stability is a very important part of this.
And give us the website one more time so they can learn about your upcoming events.
friendsofwednesdayschild.org.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.